Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into something absolutely wild. We're going to explore how modern hacking targets literally everything, from massive global surveillance grids right down to your own psychology. We usually think of cyber attacks as these highly technical operations happening strictly inside some dark computer terminal. But the truth is way broader than that, and honestly, it's much more fascinating when you realize just how often the ultimate target is actually your own mind. Okay, let's kick things off with this staggering number, 150,000. That is the exact number of live security cameras that were breached in a single massive incident. I mean, this wasn't some Hollywood movie plot. This was a very real data breach involving a Silicon Valley startup called Verkada. And we're not just talking about one company's local Wi-Fi getting hacked here. The attackers breached a massive trove of data, exposing some of the most private and sensitive locations you can imagine. We're talking Tesla assembly lines, county jails, hospitals, Cloudflare offices, Equinox gyms, and even Sandy Hook Elementary School. And what's really crazy is that in some of these places, like the hospitals and jails, the cameras were actually running facial recognition technology to identify the people on the footage. So, to understand how vulnerabilities like this even exist, here's our roadmap for this explainer. 1. The global surveillance breach. 2. Information control and censorship. 3. Hacking the human mind. 4. Simulating threats with Droid. And 5. Becoming a human firewall. All right, jumping right into Section 1, the global surveillance breach and how the Verkada hack actually happened. You want to know the most shocking part of this entire breach? It was pulled off by a hacker collective lightheartedly calling themselves APT 69420. And it wasn't some advanced, highly sophisticated code-breaking operation. They didn't write a custom virus to smash through a firewall. No, they literally just found a username and password for a super admin account that was sitting publicly exposed on the internet. That one exposed key gave them root access to peer into the cameras of all of Verkada's customers totally unchecked. It's a perfect illustration of the hidden dangers in connected systems. Eva Gallopern from the Electronic Frontier Foundation summed it up really well. She pointed out that when an organization installs these networked cameras, they probably assume only their own local security team is watching. But a hack like this reminds us that your local gym or your kid's school might be watched by administrators hundreds of miles away. And if their password's leaked, they're being watched by anyone on the internet. Moving right along to Section 2, Information Control and Censorship, focusing on the digital footprint of Chinese tennis star Peng Shuai. Now, look at the stark contrast between these two digital realities. On one side, after Peng Shuai disappeared from public view following assault allegations she made against a senior leader, state-run media started releasing photos of her assigning oversized tennis balls at a youth tournament, plus videos of her at a restaurant. But on the flip side, you had the international community, including the Women's Tennis Association and athletes like Roger Federer, raising serious red flags. They pointed out that her original allegations were completely censored on platforms like Weibo. It essentially left the whole global community wondering what was authentic and what might be coerced. Steve Simon, the CEO of the WTA, captured the dilemma perfectly. He basically said that while it's positive to see her, it remains totally unclear if she's free and acting without coercion. It just goes to show that when information is heavily controlled from the top down, even photographic or video proof isn't enough to confirm a person's safety. Whoever controls the digital narrative controls the perceived reality. Okay, that brings us to Section 3, Hacking the Human Mind. We're looking at the art of social engineering. So, we've talked about massive networks and global media, but now let's zoom in on the most vulnerable system of all, you. Before an attacker ever sends a sketchy phishing email, they do their homework using something called open source intelligence, or OSINT. They're out there doing recon on your Instagram, your LinkedIn, or your X profile. They're hunting for your pet's name, your high school mascot, maybe where you work. They use this completely public data to figure out the exact details they need to bypass your security questions. And then, using that gathered OSINT data, they craft a pretext. A pretext is basically a highly believable, fabricated story. Imagine picking up your phone and it's some stranger claiming to be from your IT department. But they already know your boss's name, and they know about the project you literally just wrapped up last Tuesday. Because they have that insider information, you're way more likely to drop your guard and just hand over your password. But hey, hacks don't always happen through a screen. Sometimes they rely on a really simple human flaw, the fact that we're just naturally polite. In the cybersecurity world, this is called tailgating or piggybacking. So picture this scenario. An attacker throws on a generic delivery uniform and grabs a heavy box that conveniently obscures their face. They wait by a secure side entrance. An actual employee swipes their badge, turns around, sees someone struggling with this heavy box, and naturally holds the door open for them. Just by smiling and saying thank you, that attacker just bypassed thousands of dollars in electronic security, all because someone was trying to be polite. When you string all these tactics together, a terrifyingly simple attack cycle emerges. Step 1, they gather your data using OSNT. Step 2, they spin up a convincing story, their pretext. Step 3, they exploit your trust or your natural politeness. And finally, Step 4, they gain access to your data or your building. They effectively steal the keys to the kingdom without writing a single line of malicious code. It's crazy. Whether it's scenario A, literally holding the door for a supposed delivery person, or scenario B, posting your dog's birthday on Instagram and accidentally giving away your password recovery answer, both of these case studies show exactly how our everyday habits get weaponized against us. All right, let's zoom back out for Section 4, simulating threats with Droid and how scientists are actually fighting back. To really grasp the massive scale of modern cyber attacks, you have to look at what researchers at Sandia National Laboratories are doing. They built an environment called Droid. And get this number, 300,000. That is the number of virtual Android phones they have running simultaneously inside the simulation. Inside this digital ghost town, scientists can safely unleash absolute chaos. They drop devastating malware to see exactly how it jumps from phone to phone. They test the impact of massive network failures. They can even simulate fake GPS movements to mimic how millions of people would physically travel around a real city during a crisis. The whole philosophy behind Droid is pretty straightforward. As they put it, you can't fix a problem if you can't study it first, especially at a huge scale. Droid gives them the safe sandbox they need to study catastrophic breaches without risking real people's data. And finally, Section 5, becoming a human firewall and your role in cybersecurity. So, we've seen how attackers exploit both massive networks and our own human nature. How do we fight back personally? Well, because technology alone just isn't enough, you have to become the ultimate defense mechanism. You have to become a human firewall. That means being an educated, alert person who recognizes social engineering. It's the person who actually pauses to ask a stranger for their ID badge, even if their hands are full of boxes. It's the person who double-checks that their pet's name or graduation year isn't plastered all over their public social media. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to think about your own daily habits, both in the physical world and online. I'll leave you with this provocative thought. When the next hacker comes knocking, whether they're armed with a fake delivery uniform or intimate details scraped from your Instagram, will you hold the door open out of convenience, or will you stand your ground and be the firewall?